Going to the gym can be discouraging, especially if you're putting in the work but barely seeing changes. But with Tonal, you can actually see your progress with every workout. Tonal provides the convenience of a full gym and the expertise of a personal trainer anytime at home with one sleek system. Designed to reduce your mental load, Tonal is the ultimate strength training system, helping you focus less on workout planning and more on getting results. No more second-guessing your technique. Tonal gives you real-time coaching cues to dial in your form and help you lift safely and effectively. After a quick assessment, Tonal sets the optimal weight for every move and adjusts in 1-pound increments as you get stronger, so you're always challenged. Tonal lets you choose from a variety of expert-led workouts, from strength to aero hit to yoga and mobility, to keep you coming back for more. For a limited time, go to Tonal.com to get $500 off your Tonal purchase, plus a free 4-year warranty. That's Tonal.com for $500 off, plus a free 4-year warranty. Tonal.com.
Blog Talk Radio.
Everybody, and welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and let me first off just say I apologize for still fighting this nasty cold or virus that I've had for the last few weeks. So if I sound a little scratchy tonight, I apologize to all of you listening out there, and but I want to thank you for joining me tonight anyways. Just to remind everybody, of course, we always have a great show for you every week. We are live from every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Time. That's 7 to 9 for those of you on the East Coast under Eastern Standard Time, and for those of you on the West Coast, that's 4 to 6 p.m. On Pacific Time. Quickest way to get to the show, of course, if you're not here or you want to pass out the link, is go to blogtalkradio.com. Up in the search key, type Golf Talk Live, and that will take you to the main page. And, of course, every week during the live broadcast, the current show, which would be now, will always be at the top. But for some reason, if you're not able to join us live, that's okay. You can pick up the broadcast on its recorded version after the show, and you can just go to that same link, www.blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live, and just scroll down the screen a little bit until you see the on-demand section. And, of course, it will be, again, it descends from the most current show down to the oldest. So you can scroll through and pick up any of the ones that you might have missed. But thank you if you're tuning in live tonight. We appreciate it. Got a great Coach's Corner for you tonight. Missing one of the coaches, Matthew Cook from Bishopsgate, unfortunately wasn't going to be able to make it. He's doing some things down there in the academy and had some weather issues there, and it got delayed, so he wasn't able sure if he was going to be able to make it or not. But got two great panelists anyways. Gary Okino and Jamie Leno-Zimron are just waiting in the wings. They're going to join me here in just a second. I'll tell you a little bit about them. A little bit later in the broadcast, of course, I will be joined by Cynthia Wark. She's the president of Cynwark Corporation and the inventor of the personal golf fan. She's going to come on and talk about that and some of the other great products that she's been whipping up, if you will, at her corporation. So we'll talk to her a little bit later on in the broadcast. Also, as I said, at any time if you want to call into the show, you're certainly welcome to do so. You can reach us here at area code 646-716-4667. Or if you have any questions or comments about the show, you can email them to me personally at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And if you're somebody that's in the golf business and maybe you're interested in coming on the show, would love to have you on here. Maybe you've got something you feel you'd like to share with the audience, or there's still some spots throughout the year. If you want to join in some of the Coach's Corner panel discussions, we'd love to have you join in that as well. Again, you can email me at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. And I know there's a few of you that may be tuning in tonight that are waiting for me to get back to you, but as I said at the beginning of the broadcast, I'm kind of fighting this virus here for a few weeks, so I'm a little bit behind, but I will get to you, and I promise we'll get you into the schedule as quickly as possible. But thank you for your patience and understanding. Also on social media, of course, every week I update everything on Facebook through a lot of the different golf groups and so forth, but the main update is, of course, is on my own personal page or the Golf Talk Live blog page, which is facebook.com/Golf Talk Live blog. Thank you for all the recent likes and all of those great comments. And also, last but not least, you can follow me on Twitter at Ted and Buck CEO, CEOs being in capital letters. And again, thank you for all the followers. I'm going to bring up the panel here. Let me just read a little bit about each of them, and then we'll get going with some of the discussion. As I mentioned, got two great panelists tonight. First up is Gary Okino. He's a #1 best-selling author and also the inventor of the Mind Technique Synergy. We'll talk to him a little bit about that as well when he comes on. He's also a USA junior golf team coach, and in addition to coaching the junior golf team, as I mentioned, he is a leading authority in the Mind Technique Synergy. In fact, many of his students have used MTS to win hundreds of events at both the national, junior, and state and collegiate, as well as at the club level. So very effective program, and we'll talk to him a little bit about that as well. Joining on the panel, of course, is Jamie Leno-Zimron. She's an LPGA Class A teaching professional and a 5th degree Aikido black belt. She's also a psychologist, corporate speaker, and consultant. And Jamie is, of course, the creator of Ki Golf and the Ki Way, Inc. She's also a body worker, and we're going to talk to her a little bit about how she incorporates her martial arts expertise into her golf game and how she's helped some of her students. So, Jamie and Gary, welcome to Golf Talk Live.
Thank you, Ted. It's great to be here and great to be with Gary.
Thank you so much. Equally the same, Jamie and Ted. Thank you. Not
a problem. Guys, what I want to do a little bit differently than just sort of, going through some general questions, I sifted through some of the questions that I've been getting here over the last several months, and instead of sort of just doing some of the common topics, a couple of which I just mentioned to you, Gary, I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk about Mind Technique Synergy, and Jamie, I want you to talk about a little bit about the martial arts aspect of things. But I wanted to select some specific topics that we really haven't talked too much about here, and give you an opportunity to give your thoughts and to suggest maybe some drills that you've found effective in either your teaching or coaching methods. And I thought we would do that. And the first one I'm going to do is, and Jamie, I'm going to let ladies go first, if you don't mind. The first one is how does one find their tempo? And the second part of the question is everybody's tempo generally the same?
Very good questions. First of all, I just want to say that tempo is really important to a good golf swing, a good golf shot, and a good golf game. And I say that because people are always surprised, I think, when they go to a LPGA or PGA tournament and they see the pros, and they discover that they are not swinging really fast. The biggest thing is they have very good tempo, they have very good balance, and they're in balance throughout their swing. And some of you may remember there's something called tour tempo, which was a very interesting development. Tour tempo was kind of a serendipitous finding of the guys who developed it. And they were just going through a lot of data on tour swings and serendipitously discovered that there was this ratio in almost every swing, meaning that it was like 3-to-1. If it took whatever the time it took to go back from address, top of the swing to impact, and then the rest of the way through the swing, so backswing and follow through, it was a 3-to-1 ratio. And so some people were a little faster, a little slower, but that ratio was always there, and ratio is important to tempo. and I always say, I'm Jewish, but I always say I teach the rhythm method in golf because rhythm and tempo is so important. So, and to me, the source of rhythm or the source of tempo, there are several sources of them. One is, first of all, balance and stability. Okay,
right.
So for people who sway and move off the ball and all that kind of stuff, they're going to have a hard time really finding a consistent tempo. So stability is where it starts. And then another really, really big component of it is what I call sequencing, being in order. And so for anybody who, for example, just when you throw a ball, it's very interesting. Almost anybody, whether you're a good or a bad athlete, can throw a ball with a sense of tempo, meaning, the lower body is involved. And it's like you kind of take a little step with that forward foot, all the weight's on the back foot. It starts to transfer from the back foot through the back knee, then through the hips, the core, the center, and weight comes forward. And then that brings the shoulder, arm, hands, ultimately the ball and the breast through to toss a ball or throw a football or throw a 100-mile-an-hour pitch or hit a baseball. And actually the same is true for golf. So when we move in a proper sequence, and sequence for me comes out of stability and balance from the lower body, the feet and legs, up through the hips, and then to the upper body. And that's true on the three main phases of the golf swing, which are your backswing, downswing, impact, and follow through. So, I'm describing this in words. I'm seeing it. I hope people can see it a little bit or visualizing that motion. But that's really how you throw a ball in any sport.
Right.
It could be a tennis shot, right? A forehand, a backhand. Starts in the feet. It doesn't really start in the hands.
Yep. You have to have good balance.
Yeah, and good balance and good sequence, good order, all around a center. So the center also starts to create that tempo so that there's an evenness to the backswing and the forward swing. So these are all elements, I think, where tempo derives from. Unfortunately, so many people say, slow down. They just figure to tell themselves about just swing slower or slow down or, be in rhythm. But you can say that, but there are actual elements to that. And again, to me, the elements are this balance and stability, centeredness, and then a properance of movement from the lower through the upper body through each phase of the swing. All of a sudden, you sort of automatically slow down and you automatically begin to have rhythm because you're moving in what's a natural rhythm. It's actually like a kid on a swing, and we are doing a swing, right? And we have a swing set. So that set, those are those big metal poles and concrete in the ground. You have this set. That's your stability. And then you have the swing. And if you sit a kid in a swing, right, to put their little butt down, they're right in the middle, that's the center. If they could pull all day with their hands on the ropes or the chains of the swing, and they're not going to move. It begins from the feet, right? The feet start to generate the energy. And then as far back as you go, that's as far back as you come through. A little further back, a little further through. And there is a very natural tempo. And we need to, I think, sort of simulate that or incorporate that kind of feeling and those kinds of images into our golf swings.
Right, exactly. Well said. Gary, I want to have you maybe approach this a little bit differently. But first, I just want to read something real quick here, some notes I'd made. A couple of players that come to mind, Ernie Els and, of course, Fred Couples and Nick Price. Ernie Els and, of course, Fred Couples, even though their swings generally are different, if you were to look at them visually, Fred kind of has a little bit of a looping action, if you will, up top, and Ernie tends to be more of a traditional swing plane. But they're very long, very flowing swing, which really looks effortless, as Jamie, which you alluded to. But yet they're able to, at an impact, able to generate quite a substantial amount of clubhead speed. The interesting thing, though, and why I want to throw Nick Price in here, he's probably one of the best examples that I can think of, certainly in my time, is he was, when you look at Nick Price, he was very quick, very brisk action. But yet they both have found a rhythm that works for them. What are some things that Gary, that obviously when you're working with students and that tempo and that rhythm, if you will, is something that you have to try and incorporate? Are there drills or the things that you try to do to help people find their rhythm?
Going to the gym can be discouraging, especially if you're putting in the work but barely seeing changes. But with Tonal, you can actually see your progress with every workout. Tonal provides the convenience of a full gym and the expertise of a personal trainer anytime at home with one sleek system. Designed to reduce your mental load, Tonal is the ultimate strength training system, helping you focus less on workout planning and more on getting results. No more second-guessing your technique. Tonal gives you real-time coaching cues to dial in your form and help you lift safely and effectively. After a quick assessment, Tonal sets the optimal weight for every move and adjusts in 1 pound increments as you get stronger, so you're always challenged. Tonal lets you choose from a variety of expert-led workouts, from strength to aero hit to yoga and mobility to keep you coming back for more. For a limited time, go to Tonal.com to get $500 off your Tonal purchase plus a free 4-year warranty. That's Tonal.com for $500 off plus a free 4-year warranty. Tonal.com.
Or their tempo, rather.
Yeah. Yes. Firstly, I'd like to say that Jamie gave a really nice answer, and I agree strongly with the sequencing part. And ultimately, what I'm trying to do is exactly what you said, try to get the sequencing better. When people tell you to slow down, that's typically bad sequencing, and they're just trying to mask a different problem. So I really liked that. To address your your different question, I try to have students swing as much as possible both on the course and on the practice tee, and especially when they're first warming up for the day, with their eyes closed. I feel like that helps you find your natural sense, your natural balance and stability. Most definitely it helps if you're trained and you do have core strength and you do have the stability due to like neural training. But this is
right.
Or physical training, but the eyes closed is a little more of a neural training to find your own, with your own limitations, your own senses, and that's what I do.
Yeah, and a lot of people too, guys, is and I mean there was an article I read not too long ago that when Sean Foley, of course, was still working with Tiger Woods, and others have done it. It certainly wasn't the first person to ever think of this, but actually had Tiger practice in his bare feet. So that would take away some of his stability, and obviously it was to get into more of a rhythmic swing and not really try to jump on the ball. Another common thing that I can recall, and you don't maybe see as many people doing it now, certainly not at the amateur level, but a drill that I remember, I've seen Butch Harmon do this, and I've seen in one of the earlier videos that Nick Faldo did, was they lined up several balls in a row, of course on the range, and sort of did a walk-through drill where they would swing and hit each ball consecutively, but with a very, I don't want to say slow, but a very methodical rhythm, if you will. And the idea was to sort of have that continual movement, so they didn't stop and reset and regrip. It was just sort of, and if you've seen the videos or seen the demonstrations, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm sure for those of you that are tuning into the broadcast that aren't sure, I'm sure you can Google any of the professionals and probably see an example of that. But that's generally one of the drills that I've seen a lot of professionals doing that. But I guess the second part of the question, obviously we can tell by some of the players that I mentioned that everybody's rhythm isn't the same. So is it sort of indicative, guys? And Jamie, I'll go back to you for a second here. In the case of Nick Price, he was a very sort of a fast talker and a quick movements and things like that. Does that generally translate into maybe a faster tempo, and maybe somebody like Freddie or as I alluded to, Ernie Els, that maybe speaks a little slower or less quick and repetitive, tend to be a more slow and methodical type tempo? Jamie, that was for you.
Yeah, I would say that, people do have their own rhythms, and some people speak faster, they move faster, they think faster, some people are slower. So I think that rhythm definitely, I'm sorry, a little noise in the background here, but I think that our kind of individual nervous system makeup or pace, which shows up in our personality, it shows up in our movements, it will definitely show up in our golf swing. So, trying to change that I don't think is helpful. I think we need to find a swing and a tempo, a pace that really matches our own individual pace. If I could, I wanted to go back a little bit to your question about drills. And something that I think is very important is lower body, and I talk about it a lot because I think that so much really begins from the lower body, and people really aren't in touch with it enough. And in fact, a lot of golf instruction focuses on shoulder turn and take it away with your hands. Your body will follow. Actually, what happens is your body follows, and it moves off. It gets into swaying, it gets into lifting. And I actually, if there's one bias I have, and people do have different tempos, they do have different swings. We have some people, even Furyk, these guys loop, Freddie loops the club a little and it still works. But what I think is essential is that we have this sense of groundedness and that we let things start to move from the feet. So, like I said before, golf is really a throw the ball sport, just like all other sports. It's just that, like the club, the face of the club, which actually looks kind of a lot like a hand, right? The palm, fingers, the back of the hand. It's just that it's 3 feet away. It's further away from us. So, but we're actually throwing a ball. So one drill I really like to do is I like people to play catch. And as they play catch, they start to feel that they sort of sink a little bit into the legs, and then they move from the feet, and they get their back knee involved. Your right knee if you're a righty, your left knee if you're a lefty. And then we actually turn sideways to each other, and we play what I call golf catch. And it's just that we're sideways to the target. So in golf catch, we just are in that golf position rather than facing each other head on like an underhand pitch. And then just go through that motion of throwing. That starts to get people to become much more aware of their legs, their back foot, the sequencing, and to get things moving from the lower body in the core and center. And then in a relaxed manner comes your shoulder, your elbows, your hands, your club. So I think that's important. And I also discovered a fantastic training tool, device, and it's called a balance board trainer. It was developed by tennis pros, but it's 2 discs and they're connected. It's a board. It's can taken around easily. I've taken them around the world and I have all kinds of people using them. But what the board does is to get you centered and balanced and to practice initiating your movement from the feet rather than from the upper body. And when you're standing on this board, if you start to take the club away with your shoulders or hands or try to hit the ball from your upper body, which many people are trying to do, they force it with the upper body and they kind of destroy tempo in doing so. This trainer you'll find out that you will fall off the board. You'll lose your balance instantly if that's where you're initiating movement from. So I found that's a really great training tool. It's low tech, but it's really high impact in terms of training the whole body-mind system to move in this natural sequence.
Yeah, and I've concur with that as well. I know a lot of people that are starting to see that now, and I'm familiar with the products that you're talking about. And it is good, and I agree wholeheartedly. I think that a lot of people, they talk about balance and that, but they don't really, everybody sort of, you've got to have, whether your feet are shoulder apart or a little narrower, a little wider, depending on the shot you're taking, and that's certainly important. But the feet play a huge role. There's some that may disagree with that, but I certainly don't. I think the feet do play a big role. Jack Nicklaus always talked about the importance of how proper footwork and that helped his golf game, and really what he was talking about was having the right balance during the swing. Otherwise, you'd sort of topple over. Gary, I wanted to ask you. I wanted to move on to sort of another question here, and this is really sort of a general question. But before I do that, I want to give you an opportunity. I know you've been on to talk about it before, but just sort of remind everybody a little bit about the mind. Technique synergy that you practice and really what it is and how you're applying it to some of your students and obviously getting some success with it.
Sure, thank you. Mind technique synergy is the idea that golf is not all mind, so you can't just sit around on a couch and visualize your game and have everything improve, even though there is some value to that. And you can't just sit there and have or you can't go out to the range and just technique your way and swing your way, ball after ball after ball after ball after ball with repetition to success either. Sometimes that's just floods the brain too much. We need to kind of find a marriage between the two. And if you think about your best rounds ever or when you're playing really well, you have this very unique togetherness of the technical blend and the mental blend, so I call it mind technique synergy. So it starts with I have a 4-step process that students do, and it's all customizable to their learning style, to their brain balance. There's ways we test it with some assessments and things like that. So we customize the 4-step system. And it's really just designed to get you to play your best golf, and specifically in how you prepare your shot, how you think away from the ball. It's really the biggest thing, is thinking away from the ball and not just playing over the ball. And then how you respond to your shots by having positive statements, as well as saying things like next shot, so you can turn the page and you can stay in the present and anticipate the future. It's really designed. It's a lot of performance coaching based. So a lot of what we do, a lot of our colleagues are out there teaching a lot of technique heavy instruction. A lot of, this is what to do. This is what you do with your hands. This is what you do with your feet. This is what you do with your knees. And there certainly is room for that. You need to know what to do to some extent. But the Mind Technique Synergy approach really focuses on how you implement those things and how you actually put it together, how you go out and shoot lower scores, and how you practice for the course. So I'd say there's a duality of a lot of how, and that's specified to the individual, and a lot of looking at the needs of the game or the demands of the game, and preparing yourself for that, and not getting so laboratorial about it. I don't know if that's even a word, but
sure.
And so just so highly left brain stress technique. You hear my voice cringing at those things, because ultimately that deters from performance. It deters from sense and feel and long-term scoring.
Yeah, and well said, Gary. Thank you. I think one of the things that and I agree with you. I think one of the things that has happened over the years with golf instruction, and obviously it's like anything else, it evolves, it changes, and we all adapt to some of the new techniques and some of the new things. And as we learn and understand what's available out there, we become better stewards of the game. I think one of the problems, and you kind of hit it right on the head, that I've seen over the years is it's very easy to tell somebody what to do, as you said, with their hands, or how to swing the club and things like that. I've always looked at instruction this way. If you wanted to build a shelf, there are certain tools that you need to be able to build that shelf successfully, for it to cut the wood and assemble it and so on and so forth. And the way I look at golf instruction is we're providing somebody with the tools. How they use those tools is based on their own experiences and so forth. So obviously there is right ways and there are wrong ways, but there's always some flexibility that can be had. For instance, Jamie, you had mentioned, as I did earlier, about Freddie Couples and Jim Furyk had a little loop in their swing, and we remember Lee Trevino, of course, had a very different approach to the game. But there were certain core fundamentals that were unique with, and the same with all of them. How they arrived at them may be slightly different from one another, but essentially the core fundamentals were all the same. And I think what we need to do as instructors is we need to be able to be less technical about what somebody should and shouldn't do, and really allow them to think the process. And I'll give you a quick example. One of the things that I did, if anybody tuned into last week's show, I talked about an example of a student that I worked with back up in Canada. He was a CEO of a company. I won't get into the whole thing because you can go back and listen to last week's show. But basically, rather than telling him what to do, I put him in certain scenarios and gave him some tips and things like that he could use. But I basically made him use his own mind and his own approach to be able to assess the situation, and allowed him to come up with his own solutions. Now, I would certainly guide and help him if he needed it, and I gave him certain drills to help him accomplish some of the tasks. But generally, I allowed him to formulate his own path, if you will. And I think one of the problems is that we see with instruction sometimes is we give them the tools, but then we're telling them how they should and shouldn't do it. Well, that's great when we're on the practice range, but when that person gets out in the golf course, you're not standing there to guide them through it. So they have to be able to learn to put the pieces together themselves a little bit, certainly with our guidance when we're in session, but when they're away, they need to be able to use their mind and be able to go through that process. So having said that, I want to take sort of a relatively simple shot. And Jamie, I'm going to give you an opportunity to answer this, and then Gary, I'm going to come back. Obviously, there are unique shots, a lot of different types of shots out there. One of them is a pitch and run shot. It might be simple to you and I and Gary, but some out there really don't have the technique down. So I want you to explain a little bit about a pitch and run shot, and what are some of the things that you can do to help the student understand it, and then where do they sort of take over from there?
Well, it's interesting you asked that question because, as I mentioned to you, I am currently at the Golden Gate Golf Course in San Francisco, and there's an event going on right now. I just took time out to come over here and be on the show, but there are quite a few new golfers, women golfers, and it's part of a new initiative from Mayor Lee, Mayor of San Francisco, to make San Francisco the most women's golf-friendly and women's-friendly city in the country, which is great. But it was interesting because I was just there as there was a whole group, probably 20, I would say, novice women golfers learning exactly the shot you're asking about, the pitch and run. And, it was kind of interesting. There is the approach where let's just keep it as simple as possible and minimize moving parts and make it, let's say the ball is fairly close to the green, right? It's just like get it on the green a third of the way, let it run 2/3 of the way to the hole, keep it low, and remove any wrist hinge. So it's kind of like a putting stroke, for the most part. And so that way it kind of reduces your chances of making a really bad shot, shall we say, right? Fewer moving parts, keep it low, and just let it run. So that's kind of the idea, I would say, on a chip shot, or depends what you're trying to pitch and run.
Pitch and run.
So I always remember one of my little girls in my girls golf program differentiating between a chip and a pitch. And so we would call it a chip and run. A chip was like a chipmunk; it stays low, and a pitch is like pitching a tent; it gets that loft on it. So when we're just keeping it low, we're keeping the wrist fairly still, and you really want to keep a centered kind of a sense. You don't want your chest to lift up, or your sternum, for example, because that lifts the sole of the club, and you're likely to top it and not make good face contact with the ball. I think it's very important to be very aware of the target line, and so you need to have some sense of reading the green. In fact, a pro here was telling this group of women that asked them, did you learn about reading the green when you were putting? Because even when you're making this chip and run shot near the green, you need to take into account how the ball is going to break or what the break is on the green. And then you see that break and you want to hit the ball and keep the movement of your club along that target line. And I always say every good shot should add up to 100. That means your back swing and the follow-through should add up to 100. So if you take the club back, say, knee height on the back, knee height coming through, and even maybe 45-55 instead of 50-50, that means you'll have a little more acceleration, and you certainly wouldn't want 55-45. And you'll see a lot of people with this like 90-30, right? Doesn't even add up to 100. And it's too big a backswing and not enough follow-through. Or you'll get the opposite. You'll get a 30 and then a wham, I really got to add to it, and all of a sudden you got an 80 coming through. But a good balanced shot, as we were talking about earlier, will add up to 100, and with a little bit more on the follow-through side on a chip and run shot, even a putt. And a pitch shot for me is where we start to get into that golf catch, where we're starting to get the back knee involved a little bit so that we can actually toss the ball and let the loft of the club, rather than breaking the wrist, but just let the loft of the club start to get the ball up in the air.
Yeah, and well said. And, you raised an interesting point as well, Jamie, about really understanding to be able to read the green when executing some of these shots and your approach shots. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because in my comments last week on the program, when I talked about what I worked on with one of my students a few years back, one of the things that I did to start the session out when we actually went out on the golf course, I actually had him start on the green and work on some putting and so forth. Now, this was, just to clarify for those that didn't tune in real quick, this was a course that had 3 sets of nines. One of the nines was under construction, so I was able to have some extra time and not worry about holding up anybody's play. But anyways, what I did is I took him out to one of the greens that had quite a bit of undulation, and I wanted him to be able to see and look at the green and make some putts of various lengths just to get sort of a feel, and then we progress by moving back to some simple chip shots a little further back, and pitch and run and so on and so forth, and then some full pitch shots. But I wanted, for that exact reason that you just pointed out, Jamie, is I wanted him to be able to understand what his target was, because if you don't really understand that, you're going to end up with making a lot of mistakes. Now, you're always not going to have the benefit of that, but anytime you do, especially if you're playing your home course, you should try to make notes and understand what your target is, the shape of your target, how big your target is, so on and so. So the more information that you can gather ahead of time, especially if you've got an advantage of playing a home course, I think is going to be better. Now, Gary, I wanted to give you an opportunity. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, please.
Let me just chime in on that a little bit. I think that this notion of the target line is very, very important as we build our golf swings, and it has a mental game component to it because it's a focus, and so the club, when we say you need to take it back along the target line, and then as you're coming through, you need to have an extension down the target line. So when people are flipping their wrists, for example, the club face is turning and they're moving off the target line. Putts and chips are very much, a target line kind of they're sort of all target line, right? It's so much more about direction than about distance, but even a full swing. And Tiger, I always say, learn to play golf from green to tee. And what does that mean? Putting is a great place to start because you get this, all it is just impact zone and target line. A little bit back, impact at square, come through with that nice balance, 45-55, 48-52, right? So we have a little acceleration. Then you move back to the edge of the green. Tiger did, right, as a little kid. And when we teach kids this way, they really learn well. So then it's a chip shot, then it's a pitch shot, then it's some short irons, mid irons, and you're building your game. It's really the very natural way that we grow. And so many people want to come out and hit their driver and hit these big shots and start with full swings. And I was just talking to a woman here at this event, and she was saying that she has a terrible chipping game, and she likes to hit the long shots. And I asked her, do you ever work on it? And I said, let me see your swing. Well, it was clear that she had no idea of kind of the core elements, what I call the guts of the swing. And a short motion, the pitch shots in particular, can really give us what the core, the real guts of the golf swing, what we're doing, and they let us practice all these essential principles and get our timing and our rhythm set, get moving in order, and then you can start adding longer clubs. But so many people do it the other way around, and I said to her, you didn't pop out of the womb like this great big adult. And most people want to pop out like with a driver.
Yeah.
We got to learn to walk and talk and grow and build it up. And when you do that with your golf game and with your golf swing, it's amazing. Not only do you get a good putting and chipping game, and which is money and score, but you actually have set all of that properly in your body. So when you go to these big swings, the longer shots, they'll actually come out pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. And again, well said. Gary, I wanted to bring back to the mind technique synergy a little bit, and I want to really apply it to generally two questions that I want you to really respond to. One of the things that any good golfer knows, first one is about tee shots. Do we need to really, how do you know where you want them to land? For instance, if you're coming up on a tee and you know that it's a par 4, and I don't like to use necessarily the word target golf, but essentially that's what it is. You want to be able to pick a target. You want to sort of assess ahead of time where you want the ball to land, generally. And then also you have situations where there might be playing in wind. There's windy days and stuff like that. So how do you, incorporating your MTS, we'll call it for short, how do you help your golfers prepare for things like that? What are some of the process that you do? Obviously, there's certain physical techniques for dealing with wind shots and things like that, and also alignment and so forth for your tee shots. But how do you incorporate the MTS method, if you will, with some of your golfers for situations like this?
Can I just clarify the question? Are you asking me for shifting conditions, or for what exactly are you asking?
Okay.
I heard you.
Well, let me do this as an example. Like the first question, there's two questions really. The importance of being able to land your tee shots on any hole, you want to be able to assess where you want the ball to land. So if you're coming up, as I said, say the first, right? And then obviously there might be situations where you're playing in wind. So obviously you do things and your methods and your teaching and coaching to help your students prepare for that. Is there a way, do you use the MTS process that you're talking about as part, do you incorporate that with how, instead of just telling everybody, okay, you need to hit the ball a little bit lower and do that, what are some of the things that you use MTS for to help in situations like this?
Sure. Well, I think a good way to answer this would be to talk about the United States junior kids when we're coaching them, because as an example, we draft up, we have certain little templates and documents and things that we give them that very similar to how a college program would have their own, yardage book or something like that. We have our own things to prepare the kids for the round of golf, the juniors. So specifically, we will come up with a whole plan. They will some of them are, you have to know whether the junior is linear in their thinking. The more left brain they have, the more they're just going to list out hole 1 through 18 and then come up with a plan. Or if they're more visual, or if they're more, sort of just how they think. So we try to make the information that they both give and receive in the more of their learning style. So we just but then what we try to do is we try to have them come up with a very firm plan for how they're going to play the golf course. We want to leave as little room for emotion as possible while they're playing, and as much room for just preparation and good intentions and decision making. Successful people do more of that than less. Successful people, which is the second part of your question, also adapt. So we just basically have to just be prepared for that and know your strengths and weaknesses. If you, I try to have most players, for starters, learn to get good at one shot and have a stock shot, and then as we coach them longer, whether it's juniors or adults, then learn their tendencies. So I'll even use my game specifically. I struggled mightily in college in left to right winds because I felt like I wanted to pull the ball real hard against the wind. I wanted to pull to the left, and the more you pull your club to the left, the more you're going to hit it to the right. As far as the path adjustment goes. So I struggle with that. So I learned to go onto a different side of the tee. I learned to just, trust my flight, and I learned to do more of a certain thing. So a lot of it is experimentation on how to adjust. As far as the plan goes, though, so as far as hitting the ball, a lot of it's experimentation and learning your tendencies. But as far as the plan goes, so we have this plan, whether it's a linear plan, a visual plan, marking up your yardage book plan, so you're all you see your round total, your round totally before you play it. We just teach them how to adjust based on knowing. Instead of saying I'm going to hit a 3-wood off this tee, they know they're going to hit it to the 200-yard mark on the layup. Or instead of hitting, so that way they can just adjust by numbers as opposed to club. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's another one. I think a lot of it though really just comes down to practice and coaching. So that's it.
Yeah, and I think and I realize it's there's no necessarily tried and true way of tackling either one. I mean, obviously there's certain techniques that we can incorporate and pass on to players to help them, as I said, in windy conditions, playing the ball maybe a little further back and maybe taking more club and choking down and hitting a lower trajectory shot. There's things like that specific you can do, and those are things that fall into the sort of more of the technique. And obviously strategy comes into play when you want to prepare a shot, as I said, for your tee shots. You want them to land into a certain area, and a general area, and that in order to set yourself up for an approach if it's possible, or in a longer hole where you're not going to make the green in two, set yourself in a position that you're going to hit your second shot and leave yourself a comfortable final approach shot for your third. So there's a lot of things to do that. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just say one thing? I think that the lesson more for anything, for the typical amateur who does not play, say college golf, I think the thing that I would like to stress more than anything is have a disciplined, intention-oriented preparation for your round, and then I don't even like to say visualize it. I like to when you're going to bed, say what you're going to do. The more you program it into your mind in an audio sense, the more it actually ingrains. And so, well, people call it visualization sometimes, but I like you to just have a plan, say what you're going to do, keep repeating it, and then any adjustments to that plan are ones that you've already almost thought about, plan B, but only plan B if I need it, or only plan B if they move the tees on me the next day, or it's super windy or anything like that. But really, other than that, just play your game.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jamie, as I mentioned earlier, I know that you specialize in addition to playing and teaching some great golf. You are a fifth degree black belt, and I wanted you to talk a little bit. And I know there's a lot to talk about, so obviously we don't have time to get into all details. But obviously that's something that you've incorporated into part of your exercise platform, if you will. It's something that you've gravitated to over the years, and it's something that I know that you teach as well. Tell us how it's helped, number one, with your golf, and some of the students that maybe you've worked with over the years that maybe golf and have incorporated into their golf. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how it's helped you personally, and how it's helped some of your students.
Okay. Well, let me just start with echoing some things that Gary said. Synergy. This is really what key-I means. I don't think there's an accident that we're on the show together. Key means your life energy. Key means your life energy. There's real synergy here. So key is your life energy, and basically it's your life energy. It's the energy inside your body that you're coiling up and delivering into the golf ball. And so your energy, I always say, comes with four main faculties: your physical body, your mental faculty, your thinking, your psychology, your emotions, and golf's an emotional game. As much as we try to, we have to manage our emotions, and I think that's an area that's kind of neglected. We should talk about more. And then our spirit, and for me in this context, spirit means our passion and our intention and our target centeredness, right? What we're really trying to accomplish. So those are our four faculties. They're universal. That's just how we sort of experience and express this life energy that's in the body, that's picking up a golf club and trying to, hit it well. And those faculties, those four, need to work in what we call AI, and it's a kanji, a character in the Chinese and Japanese. That means, it actually means love, but love is understood as unity, harmony, coordination, oneness. Synergy would be another word. When we can synergize, when we can synchronize and get all of those faculties working together, then we can deliver our energy fully as we intend into the golf ball. And then our golf ball is going to go as far and as accurately as we want it to. And when we can start to do that on a consistent basis, now we start to have some good results. But that means that we have to manage our mind, we have to manage our emotions, and then we have to, be executing our swing. So what all that means is bringing martial arts into play. Some major principles of martial arts and practices have to do with being centered, being down in the lower belly, using our base, using the lower body, using a relaxed kind of power, and our breath, what we call breath power, and having that self-mastery so that we're not necessarily reacting to outer circumstances so much as managing in a masterful way our inner energy. So I hope that makes sense. And what's so cool about golf is that it's this inner to the outer game, right? It's not all what Gary said. It's not all a mind game. It's still a physical act, and at the same time, it's not all technique and all equipment. That doesn't get us anywhere. And I think we also have to bring the emotions in. But it's, as Gary said, this sort of unique togetherness, this way we can marry those. And I think we have a balance of how much do we focus on technique, how much do we forget technique and just allow this natural motions to happen. So one other thing I'll just say as a kind of basis for it is that martial arts puts us basically in a position of stress. We're getting attacked, right? Somebody's going to hit us or slice our head off or punch us or kick us. And so this is work I do with leaders, with CEOs, is we're under stress all the time. And how do we act under pressure, under stress? I mean, that's why they put sand traps and water hazards and out of bounds and
Sure.
trees and all these things on golf courses, pretty much to just
Right.
stress us out and mess us up, to unbalance us, to unfocus us, to get us to be reactive instead of be centered and masterful and do what we need to do with our on an inner level, rather than reacting to the outer. And so stress is pretty much it's a biochemical thing that happens. We get these stress hormones, we get adrenaline, we get cortisol, we start shaking, or our hands are sweaty, or our heart's pounding, we can't think as well. And so I think that when we practice these sort of martial and yogic techniques, mindfulness, what I call body mindful techniques, when we get centered and balanced and grounded and relaxed and breathe and focus, all that sort of thing, then we are actually changing our biochemistry. So we calm down the adrenaline, we calm down the cortisol. When we can change our biochemistry and also get our brain function to stay up in our higher functioning cerebral cortex instead of back in our limbic, sort of primitive brain, what they call lizard brain, when we can do that, all of a sudden we can actually perform. We can make the swings that we made when we were on the driving range, right, or when it was our practice swing, when we didn't have
Right.
the stress of the golf ball or the money on it or the people watching or the water hazard we're facing. So this is where, martial training really comes in. And I think it's pretty interesting. I remember watching Phil Mickelson, right, the guy who never won a major, the best golfer never won a major, when he broke through and he won his first Masters. And you guys may remember it, watching him.
Yep.
So many of us were watching him on the back nine of the Masters, his first one he won. And he was smiling, he was happy, he was looser. He wasn't overpowering the course. He decided to be more in harmony with it, not pull out his driver on every shot. And it was like, wow, he won the Masters. It was a whole new thing. But I asked myself, what did he do? What allowed him to make those shifts and to change? And I discovered that he started working with a guy who was actually a third-degree black belt, I think, in Taekwondo, and a physical fitness trainer. And he really talks a lot about martial arts. In fact, I think I've done it before. Google Phil Mickelson martial arts, and a bunch of stuff will come up. And he really started to take his martial arts practice into his golf game so that he could be more focused. He could have a more relaxed kind of power. He could be more in harmony with what was going on instead of just kind of being his ego muscle self and imposing himself, which doesn't work on a golf course, right?
Right.
So these are some of the ways. There are so many more ways that martial arts applies, but in kind of some of the deeper principles and in the sense of this synergy is so important, and we need to practice that and to approach golf as kind of a self-mastery practice. So I've had people in my own golf game. I mean, I clearly it's when I can really focus on when I'm in competition. If I just really focus on how do I keep my mind centered, how do I keep calming my emotions, my reactivity, some of the things that Gary was talking about, but I can do that through physical, what I call somatic body practices that allow me to focus my mind to calm those biochemicals. And I also have created a fitness program called Make Your Golf Club Your Health Club. I think it's so important that people be able to stretch, have strength of their golf muscles, and that their fitness actually works into their golf swing, and then they can start to create consistent golf swings, what we call kata, or form practice in martial arts. The golf swing to me it's a form, it's a repeating form. Then we can start to gain that consistency. Then we start to have this confidence and control. And my golfers, they all start hitting the ball better. They start having a lot more fun. They have energy. They don't poop out or have their back hurt or whatever on the 12th hole. They don't just, lose it all together. Or when they lose it, because we lose it, face it, we get stressed. We just, no matter our best whatevers, and we still three-putt it or hit it in the water, whatever. But we've got to be able to come back. So when we get kind of out of our rhythm or out of our, into a sort of this stress mess kind of place, we need to be able to bring ourselves back into more of that centered rhythmical zone. How can we do that in the moment on the golf course using our golf club as a tool, because that's legal. You can't use any technology on the golf course. And so these are ways that, my golfers actually, the newer golfers learn more quickly because they have a solid pattern to start practicing and they get the fitness and the focus. And I have a lot of golfers, a lot of my students are like so many people who feel like they've been plateaued for years.
Yeah.
And they're actually starting to go downhill because they're getting older, right? And so when they start to apply these principles, it's like, oh my gosh, they move off to their plateau. They find out they don't have to get lose distance or lose focus just because they're getting a little bit older, and it's really very gratifying to see. And they can also take these principles off the golf course. It's like, oh, this is put my golf club down. I'm just kind of more masterful. Period. That's really neat.
Yeah, and that's something I've heard a lot, and it'd be interesting to see if and obviously I'm sure that a lot of the golfers on tour and that certain things they keep private and so forth, but it'd be interesting to see if Phil was to really publicly come out and talk about some of the things that he's done, if it would be another area in the golf industry that you would start seeing more of. I know you've been doing it for a long time in your sessions and that, but I'm curious to see if maybe some of the pros came out with talking about exactly what you're talking about here, and Gary, yours as well. If you would start to see it in some of the mainstream, some of the amateurs start to gravitate to some of these these methods and things like that are less technical, that we've seen over the years, or equipment. We all know this. The truth of the matter is, equipment does certainly help to a point, but it's not going to cure a lot of the problems that people have, and this is why there's been so much frustration in recent decades, and really it's been a couple of decades now that the movement's really been going. And it's great, Jamie, that you're doing that. Gary, let me ask you, just keeping on sort of the fitness side of things, obviously I know you keep yourself in good shape as well, but using, again, your MTS and that, and obviously Jamie's just very well eloquently sort of drawn the parallel to it. That's really what you're trying to do. You're not maybe including the martial arts component to it per se, but that's basically what you're trying to find, is a balance and harmony, if you will, in your students, correct?
Yes, that's very correct. And we go through, and I would say, a lot of what I do is I'm trying to evaluate first. I'm trying to preserve the integrity of who that person is, and then trying to make the right adjustments and to find that balance that's right for that person. And everybody's a little different. So that's the only probably thing I would add to what Jamie said. I'm sure Jamie's doing that too, but that's where my intention starts. And we are taking similar approaches, but you're right. There's not the element of martial arts with me. I refer out to very good trainers. I have a trainer who works in gyrotronics, if anybody's ever heard of that, and things like that. But it's basically how I say it this way. I don't think in the last probably 10 to 20 tour winners I've heard sit up there, and this is PGA and LPGA, I've heard sit up there in their interview. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say in a while, yeah, I did something different with my left wrist overnight, or I did something different with my elbow position overnight, and all of a sudden it clicked. Yes, there is definitely a technical component. We all need adjustments and tweaks, and technique is extremely important. But if you're not willing or desiring to merge that with mindset, emotions, finding out your body's imbalances, I think you're doing yourself a strong disservice. And you're only going to have, in terms of like a visual of a piece of pizza or a pizza pie, you're only going to have one slice, and it's and you still may slice. And if you're not playing a game that is, I like how Jamie said that, you're not playing a game that's in harmony with the golf course and with the intentions and the essence of the game. You're just fighting it, and unfortunately, that's not the approach that equipment manufacturers want you to believe. It's not the approach that, I know a lot about how to, swing a club and apply certain torques and forces and things like that, but ultimately, that student has to play and perform and respond and to the golf course and to what they're feeling and sensing, and all that stuff I feel trumps, the heavy equipment and techniques and all that. So.
Yeah, I agree, and I think also too, you both have kind of touched on a little bit, and I've said this many times before. Emotions certainly do play. If you're bringing a lot of baggage to the golf course, whether it be from relationships or work, you're bringing the office to the golf course. that's certainly going to affect your play as well. So I think sometimes, Jamie, and I'm sure you find this in what you're doing, that you're able to create a presence, if you will, being able to clear that mind and some of the techniques that you're incorporating through not just the martial arts, but some of the other processes that you're using are able to help students to be able to clear their minds and focus on the task at hand and just get out there and enjoy themselves. And that's really what I think when most golfers do that, I think that they're able to play better golf, or at the very least, enjoy themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what I've done is kind of synthesize things, and I call it a body-mind technology for success and for self-mastery. And a couple things. I have an article. It's on my website that people might find interesting, and it goes along with what Gary was saying. It's called "Golf is." Oh, I'm sorry for this noise here. Golf is a mental game? ? And the truth is, golf isn't only a mental game, and it's also not only a physical game. It really is that. It's all at once, and it's our full humanness that's standing over the golf ball. There's a great quote from Annika who said, "We're not human beings we're not golfers who happen to be human beings. We're human beings who happen to be golfers." And she said that reaching her goal of number one was about improving herself as a total person to become a total player. So I think we really have to address all of these areas, and it's very, very important.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, maybe another time we can talk about. I have an approach to the mental game, kind of from my psychologist self. It's called rising to lower scores, and what that's about is that he or she who can keep themselves sort of rising to more positive thinking, keeping our energy up, keeping in higher, better emotional states, is the one who's going to do better and ultimately probably come out to be the winner or the champion, say if it's a tournament event. Most of us fall into, we get negative, our energy goes down, we're getting into these really base emotions, and then our scores go up. So having these skills to rise to lower scores is really what's important. And those are mental game mastery, but they're really total mind, body, emotion game mastery.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a great way to end the segment. And Gary and Jamie, I want to thank both of you for coming on Golf Talk Live tonight. Very interesting discussion. I always want to try and sort of gravitate to really a different area. I think sometimes we spend too much time talking about some of the techniques, and certainly, as I said earlier, I think as golf professionals, I think that we have to certainly provide our students with the proper tools, and I think once we've done that, then it's really how we show them how to handle and their emotions and how to be able to handle under stressful situations. Once you are able to hit the ball with relative success, there's really not much else you can do there. So does that mean that the session stopped? No. There's other areas, and Gary, that's what you're working on with the U.S. Junior Kids and in some of your programs as well, is helping them learn to cope once they've got the skills to be able to get out there. And I'm sure you've seen some players out there as well, Jamie, that just have phenomenal swings and that. But then there comes a point in how do they manage their emotions and how do they manage their life force, if you will, once they get out on the golf course, because that makes a big difference on how they're going to handle the rest of their game. How do they handle stressful situations? And that's really, I think, sort of has become the next evolution of golf instruction, is not just teaching how to hit the ball and how to aim and so forth and grip and posture, but really how to be able to handle the stress and the difficulties that we face out on the golf course. And obviously, ultimately, we want them to have fun, and that's something that I think we all try to strive for as teacher professionals. Very, very quickly, both of you. Gary, I'll let you go first, and then Jamie, how folks can contact you or reach out through a website. If you want to go ahead and give that information real quick, and then I'll let you two go.
Yes, thank you. My website is GaryOkhinogolf.com. That's GaryOkhinogolf.com. And the email is Gary@GaryOkhinogolf.com. Perfect.
And Jamie?
My website is KiaiGolf.com. So it's KiaiGolf.com. And Jamie at KiaiGolf.com. And my phone is a good way to reach me, too. It's just my cell, and it takes lots of messages. And I do get back to people, and that's 760-492-GOLF, 492-4653.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you both to Gary and Jamie for joining me on the Coach's Corner panel tonight. It's a great discussion. I enjoyed that. And I always, as I hope each of you do, coming on the panel, hope you learn something and yourselves and take away something from it as well. And I appreciate you helping the listeners of the program that take a little something away each time you come on, and I look forward to having both of you back on again. And Jamie, good luck out in San Francisco tomorrow, and I guess through the weekend. And be interested to hear how things work with the project that you're talking about with increasing women's golf and making San Francisco the number one hot spot for women's golf.
That's nice, huh? Nice concept from the mayor. Really nice to have that backing for it. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Something well-deserved and long time overdue. Thank you guys for joining me on the show tonight, and look forward to having you guys back on the panel.
Thank you, Ted and Jamie.
Yeah, thank you both very much.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was my special guests on the Coach's Corner panel, Gary Okino and Jamie Leno-Zimron. Thanks, guys, for pitching in. My next guest, of course, is Cynthia Wark, and she is the president of Cynwark Corporation, and also the inventor and creator of the personal golf fan, among some other great products. We'll talk a little bit about them as well. But let me just tell you a little bit about Cynthia and how she's come up with this process of creating a very interesting product, again, called the personal golf fan. And then I'm going to bring her out on the air so we can talk a little bit more in depth. As a golfer herself, of course, she knows her performance is better when she can stay cool, comfortable, and focused when she's playing. And, of course, it's something that we all want to be able to do to play our best. This certainly, as we know, especially here in Florida, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she's from Texas, so she knows heat as well, being in that part of the South. It's certainly impossible once the temperature starts to rise and gets a little warmer out there. So she looked for a remedy for this problem and came up with the personal golf fan. It's certainly high quality. I've seen it, and certainly a truly functional fan, and one that any golfer could certainly take pride in owning. And we're going to talk about how you can get your hot little hands on one. And basically what the process was over several years, working with some very talented engineers on the project. She's looking forward to sharing the personal golf fan, and we're going to talk about that in a little more detail and how she came about with that. And I know, as she puts it, that you'll enjoy your rounds more with the PGF as she does. So let me bring Cynthia onto the program. Good evening, Cynthia, and welcome to Golf Talk Live.
Hey there. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Cynthia, why don't you just tell, obviously I know you're an avid golfer and been playing for a number of years. Before we get into specifics about the personal golf fan and that, just tell the folks a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what sort of prompted you to come up with this product.
Well, as you were saying earlier, I'm from Texas. I live in the Woodlands, Texas, which is north of Houston. And we're in a community just like Florida, where it's always hot and humid. And actually, it was a warm winter day when I invented my product. I was golfing February of 2009, and I was sitting on the golf cart, and I was thinking, oh, my gosh, if it's hot today, what is it going to be like this summer? And at that moment, I visualized a fan blowing on me. I was sitting in my cart going, you know what, I could see a fan blowing on me. So I went home and I Googled looking for, a product like that. And, of course, there was nothing out there. The only thing I could find was, if you owned your own golf cart, there were fans available that you could hook up to the battery. And I thought, you know what, I'm a member of a country club. There's no way they're going to let me, yank up the seat, wire in to the battery, a fan. And that started the process where I thought, okay, I need something for myself to keep me cool and something portable. So, there's so many different golf carts out there. In my community alone, there's 7 golf courses, and they all have different golf carts. So I needed something that was portable.
Yeah, and the unique thing about it too is, and you can explain a little bit better, I'm sure, than I can, how it fits into the cart where it fits, and it is truly portable. And I know, obviously, on the radio program, it's very difficult for the viewers to be able to see that. So I put it up on our board so people that are tuning into the program can see it to get a visual on that. Of course, we'll talk about the website and that a little bit later, where they can go to not only purchase it, but also get a little more information and detail on it. But generally, where does it fit on the golf court?
I have a patent on a fan that fits in the cup holder. So what's beautiful about this fan, when you buy it, it comes with 2 different cup adapters and 2 different polymer rings. So if you're playing, let's say, on an Easy Go, and there's several different models, I have a cup adapter that screws on to the base of the fan, and it's marked Easy Go. And let's say you're now going to be playing on Club Car. You unscrew it, screw on the Club Car cup adapter, and it fits right in the cup holder of a golf cart. And then I have polymer rings that will adjust now Club Car to fit Yamaha and so forth. So it really is very portable. And when I first made my fan and the cup adapters, it fit 5 different golf carts. But over the years, oh my gosh, Easy Go has a new 48 volt golf cart, and we found that by putting on the polymer ring, the black one, it fits the Easy Go 48. So right now we know of 7 golf carts that my fan will fit in. So that's a good thing.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, you obviously work with some engineers that created that in order to, get it ready for the market and that. How long did it take for you to develop the product? And obviously we know how you came about wanting to do it just through your own experiences and that. But how long was the process in sort of getting to the early stage of creation to be able to get it to market?
Well, I put my patent in, or gave the paperwork in to the patent office in 2009, and it took 3 years to get the patent. It just takes a really long time. In the middle, and then in between, we were developing different prototypes, and some of the early stages pretty funny. I mean, they're kind of hilarious, but the engineers I had on it I used to be a flight attendant, and one of my engineers was a retired pilot, and he still does. He builds these unbelievable remote control airplanes and helicopters, and they're quite incredible. And as well as being a pilot, in his earlier years, he tested equipment for the military and for the airline. So he not only builds these unbelievable, airplanes and helicopters, he also was in testing for the military, and I forgot what else, I think civilian testing as well. So he was quite qualified to put together the components, the fan blade, which has little winglets like an airplane. It also has high-quality components. I have a lithium-ion battery that will hold a charge up to over 6.5 hours. So on the normal speed, I've had fans that just died right at 8 hours. So my claim is a little over 6.5 hours. It has a high speed, 3 hours and 45 minutes on high, and that's calculated at 20 miles an hour. So high is really pretty intense. It takes less than 3 hours to charge it. So when it's fully discharged, you plug it in just like you would your cell phone. It comes with a charger, and like I said, in less than 3 hours, you're good to go. So no doubt, you get several rounds of golf with this fan. And I can tell you right now, playing in the summer is not a problem anymore. First of all, no one's playing golf because it's too hot. But with the fan, you can play any time of the day. And I'm telling you, I just sit there and I go, thank God for the fan, because it really, truly works. And I'm telling you, my customers love it, absolutely love it. So it's good. It's a good thing.
Perfect. Well, Cynthia, I know that we wanted to hear from some of the people that have used your product and that. So, and I see that we have somebody that's called into the program. So let me bring them on the air and join us for some of the discussion. All right. Good evening and welcome to Golf Talk Live. You're on with Cynthia Wark.
Hello.
Hi. Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Yes. Hi, Ted. How are you? My name is Walter, and I live in Florida. And I met Cynthia about 2 years ago at the golf merchandising show in Orlando, and that's when I first saw her product, and I thought it was wonderful. It was a great innovation, and I thought it was something that I wanted to get involved in. I've been golfing for a lot of years, and I've been out there when it's very, very hot, and I knew this thing would really make it much more easier to play golf when it's hot. As a matter of fact, I got so involved that I was moving to a retirement community about 65 miles north of Orlando, and it's a community where there's 32 square miles. We've got 45 golf courses here, and and about 55,000 golf carts. It's called the Villages. And,
yes.
So I even got involved to the point where Cynthia let me become a distributor up here. So
wow.
We've sold quite a few of them up here, and everyone that I've sold that fan to has come back to me to tell me it's the best investment they've ever made.
No,
and
you.
Wow, fantastic. Well, I'm also in Florida as well, a little further north than you, but I know in the summer especially it gets awfully hot. And
right.
A lot of people don't realize this. I mean, certainly when the golf cart's moving, you're generating a little bit of a breeze, but it's still not very much. Right. But there's other times when you're stopped, you're maybe waiting for your partner to hit. If you're sharing a cart, or there's other, writing down your score, and it's nice to have that little bit of a breeze, because you know what it's like, Cynthia, as well, and even in Texas when you don't have much of a breeze out there and you've stopped, it gets pretty hot.
Right.
Oh yeah, and the women mostly love it, and the other convenience is that if you take the cup holder off, it's got a nice flat surface on it, and we've had a lot of people that just use it in their garage or in their home. The women love it and so forth, and also it's just a great product. It really is. It's something innovative and everybody, and it's much quieter than the fans that they have installed in the cart. And the other nice convenience is if you're riding with somebody else, you just pick that little fan up and you take it with you, and it's very, very powerful too. Yeah,
Cynthia was mentioning it up to 20 miles an hour at high speed, which is a lot of wind. That's fantastic. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
I usually get 2 rounds of golf out of it before I have to charge it too.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, thank you very much for coming on and sharing some thoughts, and much continued success not only in your golfing down at Villages, but also sharing the product with others out there.
All right,
as well.
Very good. All right. Continued success, Cynthia.
Thank you. Thank you, Walter. That was nice of you for calling.
All right, good night, Walter. Cynthia, before you and I move on, we've got somebody else that's patiently waiting as well. Let me bring them on as well, if you don't mind.
No.
All right.
Hi,
good evening and welcome to Golf Talk Live. You're on with Cynthia Wark.
Thank you. This is Ann Reiser, and I'm actually in Texas. And I heard your last guest talk about he was in Florida. But I think right now that Texas is probably getting the same kind of summers that Florida is known for. I've had the fan for a couple of years, and I was the type golfer that during the summer I wore blacks, not because, I loved black, but because I perspire a lot. And it was just easier to have a summer shirt that didn't show. And this fan has made all the difference in the world to me.
So how long have you been when did you first get the fan? I mean, obviously you've seen it for a little while now and out in Texas, but when did you first get it?
I actually got this fan about 2 years ago. It was in the pro shop. There was a demo there, and then I went to their website and ordered it. I love it. Thank you.
So if you were going to obviously, you would certainly want to recommend it. What would you tell somebody that may be tuning into the program tonight about getting the fan?
I think that for me, again, I just golf so much more comfortably when I am not sweating near as much. I know everybody has a different body situation.
Sure.
But for me, it has just made a world of difference. That I'm so much more comfortable. I feel like I can get up after a round of golf and go into the clubhouse, have a drink, and be halfway, sort of in control of my appearance.
Sure.
So for me, it's just been a lifesaver.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yes.
That's fabulous. Thank you.
That's fantastic.
Well, you're so welcome.
It's nice to have customers feedback because I get letters, and it's not that often I get to talk to anyone. So I really appreciate that, Ann.
Well, and what I got, now that my family knows how much I like these products, this past Mother's Day, I got the tote. Now, I've only used it once, but, for somebody that enjoys golfing and everything, Cynthia's website has been sort of a go-to place for my family when they need to find something of quality for me. So I just keep hoping that they keep thinking of new items.
Funny.
And before I let you go, let me just ask you, Anne, a quick question.
Sure.
Has any of your playing, if you're playing in a foursome, have any of them tried to move it over into their cart? Have they tried to take your fan and as their own, or have you tried to encourage them to go out and buy one for themselves?
I've had a lot of friends that have bought their own now. I've probably been, in my particular group, 2 other women have also bought, and with similar reasons.
Sure.
Simply for personal comfort, but mostly for me, it's personal appearance also.
Sure. Well,
the whole golf experience is just so much better.
Well, and that's true. And I think, Cynthia, in the opening comments that I made before I brought you on, I think you have to be comfortable. It can be depending on where you are. Sometimes you're out there, and whether it be Florida or Texas or particularly here in the south part of the United States, it can get very hot. And you want to be out and enjoy the summer. So this is a great product to be able to allow some of the customers that have purchased the fan to be able to go out and do that. And it's a great product. And thank you very much. Yeah, and thank you very much for calling in and sharing your thoughts. And keep selling those fans. I think that you'll have some other takers out there for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you, Ann.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Oh, that was nice of her.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Always nice to have some great customer feedback. Cynthia, let me ask you, since Walter had mentioned about down at the in Orlando at the PGA show. Obviously, I know you've been down to the PGA show, and what was some of the feedback that you got from some of the other people walking around the show, even some of the other vendors there? I'm sure you were approached and others had come up and commented. What was some of the general feedback?
Well, you know what? I didn't mention this, and I don't know if you knew this. So when I had my prototype and had just gotten my patent on it, I saw on the PGA website that the PGA show in Orlando had a inventor spotlight. So they had a contest, and I applied, and I went to it, and my fan was in this contest, and I won. I won the top prize for my invention.
Wow.
So that gave me, asking what did people think, what was my feedback, that was my confirmation that I had something. Because I've never, this was a prototype. It was sitting on a table, and the judges came by, and, you had to tell them the features and the story. And at the end, they awarded 3 prizes, and I won the top one. So that was really, really cool to have that confirmation. And then, maybe 6 months later, I started selling the fan that summer. So got it in production and started selling. But that was the greatest feedback because there's nothing else like it. I hold the patent. There's no competition. And like I think Walter was saying, people that own carts with their own fans, they like my fan better because it's portable, because it's not as loud, and because it does have that airflow that I'm promising you that it does have. So.
Well, and I think as Walter had mentioned, you don't want to have to, hook it up, wire it up into the battery
right.
or what have you.
Exactly.
And the fact that it is portable and that it does, as he said, he gets actually pretty much 2 rounds out of that.
Right.
Now, obviously, it's very durable, so it's going to, take a little bit of banging around here and there, so that's important as well. Generally, I know it's still a fairly new product by product
right.
standards. Generally, how long the fan portion, I'm sure, could last depending on the condition of how you treat it. But the battery, is there sort of a shelf life for the batteries? Do you need to replace them every few years, or what stage are you at with that?
Well, the manufacturer of the battery as well as the motor is supposed to last 10,000 hours, and the battery 2,000 charges. And if there's any failure in the first year or even more, I'm going to replace those parts for free, because you never know. One out of,
sure.
I don't know how, could be a bad one. And it's only happened a couple times where even my charger has not operated correctly. So, what I aim for is great customer service, and I can tell you that right now. That's one comment I get over and over is, being a flight attendant and doing that business for so long, I really, really believe in great customer service. So anyone out there, if you ever have a problem, we will take care of you, I promise.
Well, and that is, you're right. I mean, you can have a great product, but it's really the customer service and how you're treated
right.
can cover a multitude of issues that may arise. That's something that is very important, that people want to be able to know that if a problem such as a defective battery or a defective part, they want to know that they can reach out, whether it be through your website or otherwise. They want to know that they're going to get some sort of satisfaction on knowing that it's going to be dealt with and certainly in a timely fashion. So that is
right
important.
Away. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Anne had also mentioned about some another product. You have a tote as well. You're expanding. You're not just sticking with the fan. So tell us about some of the other products that you have.
Well, it's funny because as a female or as a golfer, you always share the cart with another player. And I was always tired of my partners being golf cart hogs. That's what I call them, because they would come to the golf course with a big old purse, and they would literally take up the whole basket. I would say Yamaha has a great golf basket. It's large, but all the other ones are so small, and by the time you put two women's purses, forget it, it doesn't fit. Club covers, you're always losing club covers. And this is a true story. I had a friend bring a beach bag to the golf course, and I said, Marie, where am I going to put my peanut butter sandwich and cell phone? And that's the truth. I didn't bring my purse. I left it in the car. I literally stuffed my club covers, my sandwich, and my iPhone in the little cubby holes up in the front of the golf cart. In that moment, I said, I need a solution to my problem. One was the fan. I was too hot. Second was for my personal belongings. So we engineered a tote, patent pending. I hope I get it because it's unique. And you pack it at home. I put my purse in there. I put whatever else, even holds a small cooler, and you just slip it over any handrail of a golf cart. It has pockets on the outside where I can put my little cell phone on one pocket. The other one could be GPS or a bottled water. Pockets inside, a little change purse. For $31.99, it's a bargain. Plus, it's water resistant. Another thing that I'm really passionate about it because it's doing really, really well. You can customize your order. If you go online, you go to customization page, you can have your name put on it. You can have, I have to tell you, I've sold so many to golf courses, which they either silk screen or embroidered their golf course outing. It's a great tea gift. It's a great gift. So that part of my business is doing very well, and the feedback I'm getting from men and women, oh, my God, I can just pack it at home. I don't have to leave my purse in the car. I don't have to worry about where am I going to put my jacket, because a golf bag can get pretty stuffed with things. So the tote really is a solution for all your personal belongings.
And a lot of people don't realize that, I'm certain a lot of the guys that might be listening to the program might not understand how important that is. But to women, you want to be able to have the things that you need to have access to, whether it be the cell phone or what have you, and whether you want to bring a little something to eat. And, traditionally, as guys particularly, we would sort of stuff that into the golf bag, but then you're digging for a lot of that stuff, and the golf bag ends up weighing, an extra 50 pounds. And it gets banged around on that golf course. So it's kind of interesting that, and again, I've said this 1,000 times on the program, I think that if women were put in charge of most of the pro shops across this country, I think that you would see a vast improvement in sales because they're very creative, very innovative, and it's true. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the show, but I find a lot of the things that I see in most of the pro shops are really not beneficial. And I've seen a lot of great products, including your fan, and I looked at, of course, on your website, your tote and that. And I think they're great products. And as more and more women are gravitating to golf, both in the business end of golf, but also personal, they want to be able to go into a pro shop and find products that are geared specifically towards them. That doesn't mean that men can't use some of the products, but they want to see things that are female friendly and are going to be not only work well and functional, but that look kind of good too, that kind of go with the style that they're trying to project. And that's where somebody like yourself can come out with some of these great products.
Exactly, and being able to customize it with your name. I have to tell you, a person buys one, 10 more are sold because that person, everyone's going, and this is typical. Women are the shoppers of the world. Women are quick to say, "Did you buy that?" Men don't say, "Where did you buy that cute little outfit?" But women do. "I bought it at this store, at that store." So I think, you're right. They should make more golf shops more women-friendly because we are the shoppers for everybody in the family. So I agree with you.
Yeah, I can say this with real confidence. I think, obviously, with the exceptions of your golf professionals, and I'm not talking your PGA or LPGA players, but your teaching professionals like myself and that, we're certainly going to buy a little bit more than the average person. But most, using guys as an example, I mean, we might, most guys might buy a couple of golf shirts a season. Maybe every few years they might buy a pair of golf shoes or what have you. And, of course, we stock up on tees and things like that. But that's about it. So it's always, I've always found it very interesting that the golf industry seems to focus on more men than it does women. And I know, and without throwing you under the bus here, I'm sure you have more than one pair of golf shoes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And different outfits. And you're right. Women traditionally are by far much better shoppers. So if I was somebody in the golf industry, I'd be sitting to myself thinking, wow, I would create a buyer's market that's geared towards the female side of the golf industry, more so than the male side of the golf industry. That's
I
just
agree with you.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Now, in addition to the fan and the tote, you also have another product. Tell us a little bit about that, a golf tee holder.
It's a silly little thing, but once again, I was golfing one day, and my golf skirt didn't have really any pockets. And I was always digging for golf tees. The ones on the cart were already used. And so once again, I just was going in my bag, and I visualizing a cute little golf ball. So therefore, I went online and tried to find it, and there was nothing like it. There was no really cutesy little golf tee holder, so I created it looks like a golf ball. It's made out of rubber, or plastic, I should say, and it has little holes where you stick the tees in it, and it's a little golf tee holder. And I have two colors right now. One is the ball is white, cord that just loops around any, thing on your golf bag, and then I did it in pink because I know that those are two popular colors, and once again, patent pending. I'm hoping to get a patent on that, and the sky's the limit. I could do different color balls in the future, or different color, cording, or I don't know. So it's just a cutesy little inexpensive deal that you just hang from your, from your golf bag, and you have your tees at your fingertips, and it's cute, just like another trinket that you have. So
exactly. And, this is what, I always find interesting. I've been down to the PGA show a few times over the years. I don't obviously go every year in that. And, I always find, and I didn't go this past January, but I went the season before. And what was always interesting to me, and as I just alluded to a few minutes ago, some of the most interesting things that I actually saw were put out by a lot of the ladies down there that had their own business, much like yourself, and they were just very creative and very inventive. And I thought, wow, this is great. And then I walked over to some of the traditional booths that we see every year from some of the major club manufacturers and stuff, and it was pretty much the same thing that I saw. So there was part of it that was kind of boring, and then there was part that was kind of interesting. And so I can see the products that you're talking about. And just a quick thought here, if you hadn't already come up with this idea, I would strongly suggest that you, once you get the patent pending, particularly for your golf tee holder, is ship off one of the pink ones to LPGA professional Paula Creamer. As you know, she wears pink. And I might even be able to make that happen for you through some of my connections as well, because I'll guarantee if she's dangling that around her golf bag, it'll be a big hit.
Oh, I'd love to do that. And also breast cancer awareness tournaments are huge. That's why I chose pink, just in support of that. And, it's just, thank you for that suggestion. I appreciate it.
Well, you know what, and I think that, a lot of players, I'm sure they get approached by a lot of different things, but it does go a long way because people do look up to a lot of these athletes and they see some of the things they're doing. It at least puts the bug in their head. And I like the fact that you've taken your own situations on the golf course and just things that you've experienced yourself and others that you associate with, and you've sort of put that creative mind together and said, okay, I'm going to do something to make it a little bit comfortable and a little bit more beneficial while I'm out there playing. Because the truth of the matter is, you want to have fun when you're playing golf, number one. You want to enjoy it. It wants to be a pleasurable experience. And if you can do something or create something or invent something that is going to make even more enjoyable, like you have with the personal golf fan and obviously the tote and ultimately the golf tee holder, I think that's fantastic. And I think that that's what we need more of in this industry is instead of just the typical, guaranteeing, you can hit the ball further doing this or buying this over here. I'd like to see less of that and more creative inventing such as you've done here.
Well, what's kind of interesting, too, is that you speaking with me, I am the inventor. I'm not some big corporation that you never really see. Who's the person who thought of this or who's the person who thought of that?
Right.
You don't ever see that in a corporation. So, I really appreciate that you have me on your show tonight because, my company is small and I'm not some big company. And I really do appreciate this opportunity to speak with you and all your listeners tonight. So thank you so much.
Well, and we'll generate some buzz here. My audience, of course, is a global audience, being an online broadcast. So people from all over the world tune into this broadcast each and every week. So what I want to do is give you an opportunity to tell people how they can get a hold of your products.
Well, I have a website, and it is personalgolfproducts.com. Personalgolfproducts. Or personalgolffan.com, whatever you're looking for, it's all under personalgolfproducts.com would be probably the best way to check out my website.
Now, are you planning on keeping it exclusively through the site, or do you see down the road of maybe working out something with some of the suppliers? And obviously, I know you Walter that called in earlier is a distributor. Are you planning it to do that way, or are you looking at maybe having it go into some of the shops and things like that more and more as time goes on?
Well, as time goes on, I've advertised in some golf, in golf magazines presently. I'm advertising, and through that, I've had a lot of golf shops around the United States as well as Canada contact me, and they are selling my product in their golf shops. Golf cart stores are also selling my fans. So, the word's getting out that way. So, I'd like to expand for sure.
Perfect. Now, I know you don't want to give any secrets or anything like that, but is there any other products that you're currently working on that you hope to have out in the next little while?
No, I haven't thought of any yet. The season's just, maybe I'll have to find something that's water resistant, because it's been raining so much in Texas that, okay, what's next here? We need something to keep our grips dry. That's the worst part. I've been thinking for a long time, what can we do so our gloves don't get wet and then therefore our grips get wet and it's flying out of our hands when we golf? But, I don't know what the solution is to that, so maybe I'll just have to keep thinking.
Yeah. Well, it sounds great. Cynthia, I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight and sharing that. I remember when I first saw we, of course, had connected on LinkedIn, and I saw that you had that product, and I thought this would be something great that I wanted to share with the audience. So that's why I wanted to have you on here. And I want to thank you for joining me tonight. And I want to wish you much continued success. I think it's a great product. Actually, I plural that, great products, but particularly the personal golf fan. I think it's going to do extremely well. And by the callers that have called in tonight, they obviously enjoy it, and they're certainly going to help spread the word.
I really appreciate being on tonight as well. Thank you.
All right. Cynthia, just one more time, let the listeners know how they can get a hold of and get their hot little hands on a personal golf fan and some of the other products. And go ahead.
Well, I don't want to confuse you with all my little websites, but personalgolffan.com, personal golf products. So
perfect.
That's the way to get a hold of me.
Well, perfect. Again, Cynthia, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule. Come on, and much continued success. I think it's some great products, and I hope you continue to have the wheels turning and come up with some other great products that you can add to the collection. I think you've got some winners there, and as I said, by the callers, and I'm sure others that are out there as well. I'll certainly do my part to help spread the word as well. But thank you very much for taking time and joining me tonight. All right.
Have a good night. Thank you.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Thanks, Cynthia.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, that was my very special guest, Cynthia Wark, president of Cynwark Corporation and inventor of the personal golf fan, as well as some other great products, the personal golf tote and personal golf tee holder. And I would definitely strongly suggest that you go out and check out her website, personalgolffan.com. And I think you'll see that it is a great product, and I strongly encourage you to do that. I want to take this opportunity as well to thank again my Coach's Corner panel tonight, Gary Okino and Jamie Leno Zimron for coming on and having some great discussion earlier on. And again, Matthew Cook unfortunately wasn't able to join us tonight. Had some things come up that prevented him from coming on the panel, but I know that he's looking forward to coming back the next time when he's scheduled. But I want to also thank all of you, the listeners, for faithfully tuning in from all around the world into Golf Talk Live each week. I certainly enjoy doing the broadcasts, and I enjoy having a number of highly talented coaches and teaching professionals, as well as authors and entrepreneurs like Cynthia tonight, stop by the program and share some of their views and thoughts. And it's really through their participation and guest appearances that have helped make Golf Talk Live a first-class show. I want to also take, I have a few minutes left, to thank my sponsors and supporters of the program, Mr. Jonathan Laird from South Coast Golf Guide, who you've heard me mention several times. Great publication. New one just came out May 1st, so it's out available now. And if you're not in the southeastern part of the United States and you want to get your hot little hands on one, you can go to southcoastgolfguide.com, and there's an area in there where you can actually have one sent to you. He will, if you click on that link, I believe you can, go through the process, and he will actually have one shipped out to you. Or if you're going to be coming into the southeastern part of the United States from literally Texas right over here to Florida, northwest part of Florida, and all states in between, you can visit most of your local pro shops or Edwin Watts stores. They carry them on there as well, and even some of the major resorts are carrying them. You can just go onto the website and probably find out where you can get it available. But strongly recommend that you get a copy as well. And if you're interested in advertising in Jonathan's guide, it's been around for over 20 years now. Jonathan is a great businessman and also a great publisher. Very professionally done magazine. You can email Jonathan at southcoastgolfguide.com and just tell him that Ted from Golf Talk Live sent you, and I know that Jonathan will be more than happy to meet your advertising needs. And this is a great publication, and I know that he's looking to expand the guide. There's also an online version as well. For those of you that want to go through, you can get some information on that. Just go to southcoastgolfguide.com. So thank you, Jonathan, for continuing many, many years of putting together that great publication. Also, Mrs. Meredith Kirk, who's been on the show a few times and is a great young lady. She is, in addition to a great golf professional, teaching professional, she also was the 2014 Mrs. South Carolina winner, and she also entered into this past year, in 14, she entered into the Mrs. USA pageant and did very well and enjoyed that experience. But she's also doing a lot of great things with junior golf. She runs a foundation called the Junior Golf Exchange, where she helps youngsters that don't have access to some golf equipment get their hands on some, and through some of the different partners that she's working with. So keep up the great work, and thank you for your continued support of the program, Meredith. And you can get more information about Meredith and also her Junior Golf Exchange at meredithkirk.com. Nikki and Tiffany Litherland, for their support, helping to spread the word, and all of their kind words in support of the program. Thank you very much. And Nikki, I promise, I know I've said this for several shows now, but just getting over a little bit of a bug here the last several weeks, so bear with me, and I will reach out to you shortly and set up a time for you to come on the show as well. I'd love to have you come on and participate. Great professional as well, Nikki Litherland. And Tiffany, his wife, thank you for all of your continued support and spreading the word about the show. And, of course, my good buddy, Mr. Bernie Pinder from Ontic Golf, a great line of customized putters, one of which I happen to have in my hot little hands. If you want to learn more about that and get in touch with Bernie, you can go through his website, onticgolf.com, and it's ONTIC golf.com. Much continued success, Bernie, and looking forward to reaching out and having you come back on the show and catching up and seeing what's new in the product lines and so forth. But Bernie Pinder, thank you very much for all of your continued support. And Mr. Sean Kelly, owner of linkedgolfers.com, great golf group that he started actually in LinkedIn a number of years ago and has grown to, I think, nearly 40,000 members. It's the largest. In fact, it's the number one LinkedIn golf group in the world, and has done just a fabulous job in growing that. And Sean has brought that out onto sort of the mainstream World Wide Web at linkedgolfers.com. So you want to make sure you go and check some great supporters and some great information on his website there at linkedgolfers.com. So make sure you check that out. Thank you, Sean Kelly, for all your continued support as well. And finally, and certainly not least, but my good buddy over in Ireland, Mr. Peter Doyle from Doyle Golf Solutions. Thank you very much, Peter, for all of your continued support and helping spread the word over in Europe and beyond. Thank you. Keep up the good work. He's a master club fitter and also a teacher professional as well. Keep up your good work, Peter, and again, thank you for all of your continued support. Just closing thoughts. I try very hard to put together shows that I feel will be informative to the audience, and I hope that you enjoy them. Certainly want to hear your feedback, and if you're interested in coming on the program, please feel free to reach out to me or just share your thoughts, comments. You can do so by emailing me at ed.golftalklive@gmail.com. And don't forget to share the link, if you will, on how to find the program, and that is to go to blogtalkradio.com. Up in the search key, type Golf Talk Live, and that will bring you to the home page. And the full link, of course, is www.blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live. And we are live every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. I'm cutting a little bit short tonight, but as I said, struggling with a little bit of virus here and cold and whatnot the last several weeks, so I'm going to cut a little bit short tonight. But I want to thank all of you for tuning in each and every week. And also, don't forget, every Tuesday morning from 9 till 10 Eastern Time to visit on Blog Talk Radio's Women of Golf show. And again, the link for that is blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf. And I'm joined there, of course, by Legends Tour player and LPGA professional Cindy Miller. Her and I host the show together, and it's been audience has been growing. We've been featuring some great young ladies here over the last several weeks. Tour, which is the springboard, of course, to the LPGA Tour. Thanks to some great efforts among their team there. Brett Lasky, of course, the media coordinator there, the senior media coordinator, at the Symetra Tour. Thank you, Brett, of course, for all of your help in setting that up. So we look forward to having some other great players from the Symetra Tour and the LPGA Tour coming on the show Tuesday mornings from 9 to 10 Eastern Time on blogtalkradio.com's Women of Golf. So make sure you tune in that and show your support there and share that link as well. But I want to thank you again for tuning in to tonight's broadcast, and I will see you all next week, next Thursday at 6 p.m. Central, right here on Golf Talk Live. Thanks, everybody, and have a great weekend.